If everybody can please silence your cell phones and silence your minds. That's what we're doing today. So welcome everyone to A Course in Miracles Friday morning group. I'm Lisa Natoli and I'm so grateful to be here. And today I'm going to be talking about holding the light. So I have this cute little angel, which Bill bought for me. And I'm going to talk about the sections in A Course in Miracles about what it means to hold the light. And Jesus talks a lot about this. And this really is a place where you become active in your own awakening and your own transformation. And you're not waiting for an experience to come. You're acknowledging that the light is within and you're holding it. You're holding it in your awareness. You're extending it. You're allowing it to be all that you are. And when you give it, that's when you know it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm so happy to see so many people here, and welcome live streamers. And the announcements we have, the only one that's in my mind is the weekend in Stony Point, New York, which is the first weekend of October, I think it's 4th, 5th, and 6th, or 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th. And it's a long weekend. So it starts on Friday night, goes all the way till Monday. And you can leave on Sunday if you like. But we are all going to be there on the long weekend. It's 30 miles kind of west of New York City. It's on the Hudson. And it's an incredible opportunity for anyone who really wants an intimate gathering. It's really not a lot of money. It's in this great retreat center, and John Mundy's going to be there, David Fishman, I'm going to be there, Bill Free, Linda Leland's going to be there, Vicki Thomas, Dr. Rod Shellberg's going to be there, Yusuko from New York City, a beautiful Japanese woman who's just so heart-centered. And I wanted to also tell you that this is just happened, really, but who knows Dr. Rod Shellberg here in the house? So he's a physician, and he lives up in Maine, up in Bangor, Maine. And he has, for his whole adult life, really been treating people as a physician. He has been the director of 3 or 4, I don't know what you call them. What are they called? They're not retirements. What are they? Assisted living centers, yeah. And they're mostly the place where people go to die. They're sort of the last place. And so he has been both a physician. Welcome, Marnie. Familiar face, every familiar face, but a new familiar face back there. But he also was assisting people as they were passing. So many people have an idea that healing or transformation has to do with improving or healing the body. But he was having an experience of being there for people as they transitioned out of the body. And there's no death. And he began very clearly hearing the voice of God, which he calls Christ. And he started listening, and he shared many of the stories for those of you who know him. And he just wrote a book. He just finished it. And Vicki drove to our house the other day from Rod's house to drop off the manuscript. So I just got a copy of the first thing Rod's done. I've been pushing him for years to do something. So I'm very excited about that. So he'll be there also in Stony Point, New York. If anybody wants to come or online, go to the Teachers of God website, teachersofgod.org, under events, or you can talk to me after and let you know some more of the details. And do you want to say anything about the transformation room?
Sure.
You look so cute anyways. Come on up.
I also want to say, before we talk about that, is on November 10th and 11th in Marlborough, Massachusetts, is the Natural Living Expo. Has anybody ever been there? It's like our people. It's 2 days. It's like 900 booths and speakers, everything to do with natural living and spirituality that you could ever want to see. You could literally spend 2 days there. We have a booth there, the Teachers of God Foundation. We're talking to people and inspiring them to do the free 40-day program. So last year we had some people show up and got to talk to new people. Just a great place to hang out and tell people who we are and what we do. And the great thing is that this year Lisa Natoli is doing a workshop there on healing. And that's going to be Sunday at 3:30. So, and there's workshops every half an hour or hour the whole entire weekend. So you want to get online, you want to look at the program, see what time you want to come. I encourage you to spend 2 days there. We just couldn't get enough being there for 2 days. So it's a great thing. So that's November 11th and 12th. That's also on our website. The transformation room is really going well. Who's here is in the transformation room? Yeah, it's been awesome. So it's our membership program here at the Teachers of God Foundation. We focus on different coaching topics each month. We started the month of August with the Art of Surrender. We dedicated an entire month to surrender. Right now we're in September, which is radical self-love and self-acceptance. October is dealing with difficult people. November, we're going to deal with one whole month on anxiety. And then December, of course, it's going to be all about Christmas and birthing that Christ and the highest in you, and what Christmas is really about. We get to just really, when the world's full of chaos and superficial presents and all of that, not that there's anything wrong with it, we get to just be in a community where we're really celebrating and appreciating the real meaning of Christmas in us. So those are just some of the upcoming topics. We are not opening the cart. We are not advertising or opening this cart again until the end of November, because we just really want to focus on the coaching topics in there. But I just want to give you guys a little sneak peek to know that there's a couple hundred people in the waiting list right now waiting to get in. So we're going to let them in at the end of this month. There's going to be a 24-hour period only where we're letting them in. So if it's something you're thinking about doing, or you know somebody that might be interested in one of these topics, just make sure you go to our website and get on the waiting list, or you won't know, because I don't know, we're not announcing this publicly or other than to our people here. We're not advertising it or anything. So if that's something you're interested in doing, that's there. Also in the transformation room, we not only have coaching topics, but we have a huge library, because one of the things we really forget, we really try to do all this work. We try to make that transformation from fear to love. But what often happens is some old fear thought hijacks us. So intervention, stopping and interrupting that pattern, is so important, and something that's hard to do. We forget to do. We don't know how to do it. So we have this huge library. Hey, everything's categorized really simply. So no matter what you happen to be going through, if you can't really get yourself back to love, or if you feel stuck, you can go to your library that you have access for 24/7, find just what you need. And we promise you, you'll always leave better than when you came in. And there's also a huge community there too. So that's the transformation room.
Awesome.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. And two more informal things is, I'm just going to say, and I don't know that it's ever going to be posted anywhere, but one is enough, is Bill and I are possibly going to go on the Camino again next year with the group. And so we haven't planned anything. We're going to talk to Jennifer Johnson again. We went this past June with 21 of us. And these are all the pictures from Sean Tompkinson. And we're just thinking about it. We're thinking about possibly either in June or in September to organize a group. So if anybody online would be interested, or anybody here would be interested, just come and see me and let us know. We're just kind of keeping it open at this point. And the other informal thing, which I'm really only going to be expressing to the people I know, which is you guys, the people who are in the programs that we offer, is I'm doing a very small private healing retreat in Mexico. I just booked it for February 2019. I think it's February 22nd, starts on a Sunday night, goes until Thursday night. There's only enough available spots for between 10 to 15 people, 20 if everyone doubles up. It is the most amazing place. It's, okay, we got a yes back there. As Bill and I went there this past winter, it's a bed and breakfast that's sort of enclosed, has a church on the property, a pool, overlooks this incredible location. And I just thought it would be so fun to just have a retreat where we're all in one space together. It's going to be raw vegan meals for the whole time. Everything's included with the room, the meals. So if you're interested in that, again, I haven't posted anything on that, but that's next February or online. Just email me and go from there. And now I'd like to have our moment of meet and greet where we meet each other in love. And in the Christ, we say namaste, I see you. I love you guys. I love you. Oh, thanks.
Will you do me a favor?
Let me turn myself off. I don't know if I'm off. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Woohoo!
No salt.
Woohoo! Nice to see you.
You too. You look beautiful.
You too. Okay, if everybody can have a seat, please. Oh, hi, Martha. Look how cute you look.
Oh, thank you. You look lovely.
Oh,
Beautiful.
thanks. Hey, you. Nice to see
dress.
you.
Nice dress.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, what?
I have to extend the length of the meeting for the group.
I know, exactly. Okay, yeah.
Back here, Carol Ann came from Nova Scotia. She's heading down south, and she stopped in, made sure she hit her trip. Come here, Carol Ann back there in the stripes.
Oh, okay.
She's from Nova Scotia. She's made
Oh,
sure on
okay.
her trip that she
What's her name?
take it-
Caroline?
Carol Ann.
Carol Ann. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I want to welcome somebody here, Carol Ann in the back, who just drove in from Nova Scotia and decided to get off the exit to come here to be with us today. Thank you so much. And also, Carol Ann. Thank you so much. And also, we have somebody who I know from a long time, who's in all our programs and who I stayed in her home in Cape Cod, but Diane Gorman is also in the house, and she's just recently located. She has a house in Cape Cod, but she also just relocated to Exeter, so she's definitely new to the hood. And I'd love to have you come up, Diane, and read the daily reading from Cafe Gratitude.
Thank you, Linda, for your glasses.
You are welcome.
Okay. See if I can juggle glasses, Lisa, and do this at the same time. So, all right.
And juggle this too.
Okay, I'll juggle this too. Okay. All right. Today's reading says, let's see, want what you have. Let's see, want what you have and do not want what you do not have. Here you will find true fulfillment. Jack Cornfield. And at first I looked at it and I wasn't sure what that actually meant to me. But then I was just thinking about recently we've read The Surrender Experiment, which was so wonderful. And it just reminds me of all the times that I really surrendered and how it works. And I was just thinking just very briefly about this quote and about my life. And remember when I wanted everything and that I didn't have. Like I went to college for business and I didn't do very well my first 2 years because I partied all the time. So my dad took me out of college. So I had nowhere to go. I had a boyfriend I was going to marry at college, no friends. My parents had just moved to a particular area. I knew no one. And I was on my knees basically. And what happened when I surrendered, before I surrendered, I should say, there was a miracle. And this brings in the course in my life because I was on a train going to Boston one night in between two jobs, didn't know who I was. And I met a fellow and a really nice guy. He just wanted to be my friend. And I thought, gee, well, that's a start, you know? And I got to know him and I finally said, how come you're so happy? And he said to me, it's because of God. And it's the first time I learned about that and how his life was very difficult until he surrendered. So that took me on the path so many years ago. And then also thinking about what I wanted and didn't want. And I wanted to meet this perfect guy. It's kind of embarrassing now. I remember when I was shallow back then and wanted to meet I was dating Harvard football players and everything. And I met my husband of now 42 years, who was just a little college boy from Northeastern. But God said, no, you don't need to look externally. Look at somebody internally. And for those of you know Chris, he's a great guy. And I'm so grateful for our path of 42 years together. Go through a lot together spiritually, up and down, but it's all good. And then I just want to say one thing I surrendered, it really means a lot to me right now, because as Lisa said, we just moved to, we have a little condo in Exeter, and we have my mom's home at the Cape. And my mom had a lot of mental illnesses, and for a few years we didn't have contact with her, which was very difficult. But God intervened, and I'm so grateful for erring on the side of love and light, because she was sick in the hospital and my aunt was dying. She didn't have contact with anybody. And I got in touch with her and toward the end of her life. But I have to say, it's because of this work and the Course in Miracles and the strengthening I've gotten here about focusing only on the light in people, no matter what they've done to you or said to you. And we came back together, and she passed, but the last 3 years of her life were so beautiful. And without having any contact with her, but I was able to come back and not look and ask for anything. I didn't need anything anymore. I didn't need someone to mother me, but I was able to be there for her. And I just want to say, so my dad and she had bought a home at the Cape, a little ranch many years ago. They retired there. My dad died fairly shortly after, but my mom lived there, and we ended up buying her home. And now that's where my husband and I go. It's my kids, our happy place. We just do all our family stuff there. But I want to say that's only the coursework, and it's focusing on the light when so many people said, don't talk to her, don't do this, don't do that. But the light really works. And I just want to share that, if that is appropriate to this quote, and surrendering is what it's about. So thank you. Here's your glasses.
Thank you, Diane. And, that's really what this topic is about today. The light really does the work. And today I'm going to be talking about holding the light. And holding the light is, for me, started as a joke many, many, many years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, probably. And I remember I was at Endeavor Academy, and maybe it started there. Maybe some other of the brothers that were there with me started it as a joke that when we go out into the world, we're going to hold the light. And then it started off holding the light for me as a joke, and it became my motto and my mission for life. It's how I live my life now. It's no joke. But the joke was that I would hold the light, which would make it easier for everyone else to do the hard work. So that I would be the one, and I'm not a princess at all. You guys who know me, that's not my energy field at all. But that's kind of what the joke was, is that I'll be there to hold the light. So I'll be there in joy, in love. I'll be there to tell you, woohoo, looking good, and bringing the sandwiches and the coffee and joining with you. And I started to realize this is actually a very important function. And what I noticed is that the people around me were actually having an easier time doing whatever they were doing. So it especially became the sort of catchphrase when Bill and I went to Australia to our friend Max's house with his girlfriend Leah. And Max had seen some photos on my Facebook page of the work that Bill does in construction. So Bill had built all these decks for our camper up in Maine, and he kept building them. And you look on Facebook and it looks like it's just going up like magic, and beautifully. And Bill's a master carpenter. And so Max said, will you guys come to Australia and build us a deck? And he was kidding, right? He was not seriously thinking we were actually going to buy plane tickets to Australia and come build a deck for free for Max and Leah. So I mentioned it to to Bill. I said, oh, haha, Max said, ask Bill if he'll come to Australia and build us a deck. And Bill didn't skip a beat. He goes, let's go. I'm like, okay, we're going to Australia. So I said to Max, we'll be there. And Max bought all the materials and I can't hammer or anything. I don't know how to do anything like that. I mean, I'm really somebody who needs help. I don't want to say switching a light bulb because I know how to do that, but general things in carpentry and home improvement are just not my thing. And so I really was there holding the light. Max and Leah and Bill were outside sweating every day and chopping and sawing, and I was there holding the light. I was like, okay, I was outside with them. I was joining with them, and I was the one that was taking the pictures and telling them they looked amazing. And can I get you some water? Do you need a coffee? Tim Tam, anyone? Who knows Tim Tams? Okay, you have to go to Australia to know a Tim Tam. And it became a joke. And then we all said that's what we all want to do. We're holding the light. And so this is funny because this is a new little angel that Bill just bought for me just a couple of weeks ago. And I wanted an angel for our camper up in Maine. And we went into this place. I didn't even notice that she was holding the light. I just saw the angel and I saw this little girl. And a big part of, for me, the thing I connect with the most of Jesus's teaching is you must become as little children to enter the kingdom. You must become as a little child and come without your concepts and come without your knowing and become a child again. And so at first when I saw the angel, I was like, oh my God, I love her. And then of course, Bill's like, she's holding the light. I'm like, oh my God, she is holding the light. And so Bill bought this for me. And so when Linda asked me, what's your topic for this week? I thought that's what I want to do this week. And show you some of the places in A Course in Miracles that are inviting us to access the light and bring it forth. And then, as always, I'm going to keep my eye on the time. I love interaction in here, so I'm going to stop at a certain point because I really would like to hear from you of how you allow that light to come forth, how you're holding the light for others. And the lessons that I'm going to look at today, this is funny too. These are the lessons that come from A Course in Miracles. This is like lesson 136 to 164. And when we went on the Camino this summer, I couldn't carry much. So I decided to rip out the lessons I wanted to take for the time frame that I was going to be on the Camino. And then I can never, what? Yeah, well, not for a $40 book, it's not a good idea.
I still want to know how you got it.
But for the last couple of months, this was like in a closet, I think, and so I kept going back. I actually did buy another course book, so I have another one, but I keep finding this one, and I love these lessons, 134 to 164, probably the most out of all of them, because they are the ones about healing, and that's my primary interest these days. But last night, I knew I wanted to do 155, and so I ended up finding this little sheet of paper. So that's what this is. So I will step back and let him lead the way. And lesson 156, I walk with God in perfect holiness. And the reason I thought of these lessons is because last night I had the thought, there is a light in you that cannot die, whose presence is so holy that the world is sanctified because of you. There is a light in you. And most people here in time and space do not know about that light. And this light is the only thing that came with you from your native home. It's the only thing you need. You don't need anything external. This light knows what to do. Thank you, Diane, for that, because it does. But it doesn't do anything unless you access it. It's already whole and perfect. It doesn't actually need to do anything. But if there's a conflict in your life, if there's suffering, if there's pain, if there's sickness, there's a way for you to connect with this light, become this light, and everything that you thought was real disappears. And so that's what A Course in Miracles is. There is a light in you which cannot die. In every single one of you here now, every single one in the whole world. I don't care how dark you think you are, how dark you think someone else is, there's a light in them, in you, which cannot die, whose presence is so holy that the whole world is sanctified because of you. And that's amazing. Last week, Bill, thank you for that beautiful meditation. And he said at one point about your holiness is your salvation. And I've been doing a lot of work looking at the parts in the course about healing. I'm about to launch a healing program in October, an 8-week online healing course. So I've been really working with Jesus, finding the places in A Course in Miracles that talk about healing. How is healing accomplished? It's because of the light. That's it. It's the light. The light is how you heal. And so your holiness is your salvation. Only salvation can be said to cure. And in here, which I'm going to read today, this is how salvation works. You step back, and the light in you steps forward and encompasses the world. That's how salvation works. So your holiness is your salvation. And I had such mental blocks all these years about knowing my true identity that when I heard the word salvation, I shut the idea out. I said, salvation, that's religious. I'm not going there. And I wouldn't look at those lessons. I wouldn't look at the lessons that talked about sin, because I thought, well, that's just, people in the church trying to get me to feel guilty. And so I just shut down a whole lot of just myself, and I just stayed in suffering. But when I actually looked again at the Course about what is salvation, salvation is a way you find your way home, back to your true identity, back to the self that you are. And so it says, let's start with this one. I will step back and let him lead the way. There is a way of living in this world that is not here, although it seems to be. You do not change appearance, though you smile more frequently. Your forehead is serene, your eyes are quiet, and the ones who walk the world as you do recognize their own. Yet those who have not yet perceived the way will recognize you also and believe that you are like them as you were before. And I know I've talked about this so often. It's like you come to this place where you're completely identifying with the light that you are. I am Christ. You are Christ. You are the light. You are love. And you identify so fully with that you don't care what the body's doing anymore. Because all you're identifying with is the truth. And so you become like an undercover agent here in this world, and everyone thinks you're human just like them. They think, well, she's just like me. She's got a body, and she's got a story, and she still needs to eat, and she still needs to shower, and she still, has to pay her bills, and I still have to do all those things. But that's not me, and that's not you. That makes sense to everybody here? And so you make a choice. You make a choice of what you're going to identify with from now on. And this week, I don't know how it is, but suddenly I'm getting all of these requests for interviews. And this week I did 3 interviews with people, and I talked about a lot of these ideas of identifying either with the body or with Christ. And I said one of the most powerful ideas for me comes from the section in the clarification of terms, who is Jesus Christ? And it says, Jesus was a man who recognized the face of Christ in all his brothers and remembered God. All of us can do that, right? And that's what these lessons are all about, is that when you access the light within you, you will be given Christ's vision. So the sentence after that says, Jesus completely identified with Christ. That's the sentence. Jesus completely identified with Christ. He became what all of you must become. This is the journey. This is the journey, that you become Christ. You already are Christ. The second coming isn't Jesus coming back in that body. The second coming of Christ is you coming back into the awareness and the knowledge and the knowing of yourself and your true identity, not your limited self-identity as a body, as an age, as a gender, as a color, as a story, as a belief, but your true identity, which is changeless, eternal, and whole. And so you will start to notice that this sentence is true, that the people who have not yet found this way will think you're just like them. Think they're talking to another human being, and we all have problems. But those who have recognized the light will recognize you also. You will recognize your people. You'll know. You'll meet someone and you'll go, oh, yes, there you are. They're just happy. They're free. And this is so for people without A Course in Miracles. Like the people who have made a choice to come into their authenticity and live from that wholeness and live from that center. And they're saying, this is my choice. Like, I'm not going to be limited anymore by the body. I'm not going to be limited by any idea of lack. I'm going. Like when you come into that kind of power and that kind of presence, that's the light. And so there's all these different phrases that people use: the Father within, Spirit, Holy Spirit, Christ, love, intelligence. The science guys are using the word life. So there's all these different terms that are talking the love of God. They're all talking about the same thing. They're talking about the light. They're talking about higher power, exactly. And so it says this world is an illusion. So uncompromising. And then all I know is for years, yeah, but. Okay, that sounds good, but yeah, but. My problems are not an illusion. This pain is not an illusion. No, it is. Suffering's an illusion, sick, pain, everything. Those who choose to come to it, this world, are seeking for a place where they can be illusions and avoid their own reality. Yet, when they find their own reality is even here, then they step back and let it lead the way. What other choice really is there to make? It's the only choice. It's the only choice you have to make, is that you, from now on, my choice is to let the light lead the way. So that's what this idea is. Like, it's the light's in front. Like, it's whole, and what the light does is it shines the path. It opens up the way for you. And what Jesus says is that this light, and he says it in the Bible 2,000 years ago, he said it to his disciple, will go before you. Christ before me. 2,000 years ago, he said it. Christ before me, and will make the way straight. It will straighten out all the crooked places. 2,000 years ago. He's been saying the same message over and over. And in the Course, it says that this light will go before you and will remove all stones from the pathway that you were going to trip on. The light will take them out of the pathway. And he talks even in chapter 1 about the collapse of time and snipping out sequences of time, collapsing time. That's what happened. But you don't know it as a human being. You just think, oh, well, life is just happening. You don't know. You might have had 5 accidents in front of you that you will never know about, and 5 difficulties and 5 or 50 years of grievances. But when you access the light in you, the light goes right ahead and just removes them. And so you start to notice that as you're doing this work, life starts to get easier. you start to notice like, oh, wow, I'm not thinking the things I was thinking before. And so this is the simple choice we make today. The mad illusion will remain a while in evidence for those to look upon who choose to come and have not yet replaced to find that they were mistaken in their choice. They cannot learn directly from the truth because they have denied that it is so. And so they need a teacher who perceives their madness, but who can still look beyond delusions to the simple truth in them. So what I loved about these lessons too is it talks about walking. Like Becky and I were talking this morning. I'm just going to out you right now, Beck. Becky wants to walk the whole 500 miles of the Camino. She's going to do it, but she's not sure she can get the time off from work.
Oh, I've already got it in my head.
Okay, she's already got it in her head. But I like the language of the Course in Miracles because it talks a lot about movement. And you said there was a book that you were telling me about this morning that called In Movement There Is Peace. And so I like that because it's not about physical walking so much, but I find a lot of spiritual people, myself included, just think, well, I'm just going to sit here and wait till the picture changes, wait till the world changes, wait till the person changes. But Jesus is saying the real members of my party are active workers. You're active in your mind. I walk to God. Jesus says 2,000 years ago, pick up your bed and walk. You're just being a victim. You're just, like I'm tired. I can't move. I'm suffering. And Jesus commands, get up. Jesus, if you notice, if you look at this is why to me he's the greatest teacher that ever lived, because he demonstrated these principles in action. And the world went and made him into this religious figure. He wasn't a religious figure. Like Christianity came later. They built Christianity on Jesus. They didn't have a term Christianity before Jesus. Jesus was just a guy who knew the truth, and the truth set him free. And that's each and every one of us, that's our journey. So he's saying, pick up your bed and walk. And you notice, like in that, you have access all power. You really recognize, like, okay, wow. And if you don't recognize it, it can only be because you're still sitting and you didn't get up. You're still saying, yeah, but. And it's a command to yourself that Jesus in the Bible 2,000 years ago, or the Jesus in the Course in Miracles, is not in the book and not back there. He's in you, commanding you to know thyself, to know the light within you. And so I love that practice last week, Bill, because my journey over the last 25 years has been a lot of, until the last year or two. But the first 20-something years, 3 or 4 years, was almost all intellectual. It was all trying to understand what this message means. It was all at the positive affirmation level, like me saying I'm whole and perfect. I am the light of the world. Those statements do not heal. They do not. They can be helpful to get you to stop the mind from all the other mind chatter. But there's an experience that has to come from you sinking so deeply into the quiet space, into the stillness, past all Jesus calls those raucous shrieks. Lesson after lesson after lesson in here is today be determined to go past all these thoughts. he says it over and over in so many different ways. Today, be determined to find the light. Sink down and find the light. Like, I feel the love of God within me now. So maybe you're saying, I feel the love of God within me now. Do you really? Like, when you say it, do you feel it? Do you know it? When you feel it, it's like, oh my, I am the light. Oh my God, you know? And it's just like, holy shit. Like, you don't have any problems. I was on this call last night with this woman, Deaquilin Williams, and she asked me to come on to her Facebook group and talk about self-love. And she said she wanted to ask me a question about her own health challenges. And we were having so much fun on this call. It was just so vibrant and so alive and so present. And so she's asking me about self-love. And I said, before we got into the question about her health challenge, I was just saying, like, self-love, you can't define it in one way. It depends on your point of viewing. Like, if your point of viewing is as the person and you want to know what self-love is, it's massages and creating boundaries for yourself and speaking your truth and pedicures and that's self-love from the point of viewing as the body. Self-love is what you are. It's like, there's no such thing actually as self-love. Self equals love. So when you shift your point of viewing to the self that you are, your true identity, you know yourself as love. Then if you want to go get a pedicure or a massage, great, but you're not doing it to get somewhere. And I was saying it's not that any of those things are bad, because often people do need to create spaces of stillness to get to that place where the shift occurs. So in a manicure, pedicure, or on the massage table, you're giving yourself a gift of quiet. You're giving yourself a gift of receiving. I was saying, there's nothing bad about these things, but you'll start to notice that unless you make the total shift, you have to keep going back to get the next one. You have to keep going back to the next massage and the next treatment and the next. And so she said, I asked her about her health challenge because I knew about it. And she said that her whole life had sickle cell anemia, I guess. And she thought she cured it. She said, I've been without symptoms for quite a while. And 2 weeks ago, she had a stroke. And so now she's back to thinking, well, there must be more, like there's more healing. And I was saying that that's what we do as humans, is we flip-flop back. Like she said there was pain, or there's been pain. And I said, you are in the pain. She wanted to know how to get out of the pain. And I said, it's a decision. It's a choice to shift in the moment of the pain or the thinking about the suffering or the symptoms into the truth of what you are. And then you'll notice there's no pain there. But what the mind does is it goes back, and then it notices the pain again. And then it decides, oh, that didn't work. That meditation didn't work. But look, do you see what just happened? You went from being in your true identity back to body identity. And then you thought, does that make sense to everybody here? And so she was like, oh my God. I said, so stop doing the check-in. Like, stop checking in on your symptoms. You are not a body. You are not that. You just stop it. Like, get up and be the self that you are. And watch when you fall back, and don't be concerned about it, but don't keep sliding back. And I'm watching her through this because we were on a video, and she's not sick. right? I'm watching her. I can see her. So I said, I'm watching you. I'm looking right at you. You're fine. And I said, do you feel sick right now? She goes, no. I said, do you feel tired right now? She said, no. I said, is there any pain right now? She said, no. I said, we could go all night, couldn't we? Like it was an hour call, but I could have gone all night last night. It was just this great joining where there is nobody. There's no anything. And I said, it's easy to do when you're with another person. It does take a little more discipline when you're by yourself. Because when you get back off the call and you sort of lose that connection, and then it's like, oh, now I feel so tired. And this is an uncompromising path. We're being called by Jesus. And I have a book study group also, which I'm doing. Our first call was on Monday night, and almost everyone on this call, we're doing Florence Scovel-Shinn's book, The Game of Life. There's 400 people in the group. There was about 50 people on the live call, and a ton of people said, I am done with law of attraction and law of manifestation, and so am I. So that's a shift in the consciousness. Like you begin to see, there's nothing in this world that I want. Like I want only the peace of God. That's when you can really answer this call for love. And what Bill and I were talking about when we got off the call was that people can still say that. Everybody wants something, even me. So why not use these principles then? Like instead of pushing them away and saying, I'm above asking for help, I'm above asking for a worldly thing, why not just include it in? We all need a place to live, right? You need to pay your bills, you need things here. But the way Jesus is describing it is that he's saying whatever needs you have to help fulfill the purpose of the Holy Spirit will be given to you. So you don't have to be concerned anymore. You don't have any needs in the sense of your own personal needs because now your life belongs to God. And so that's, to me, this just becomes the adventure now. So these lessons, holding the light, is, she says, this is the way salvation works. When you step back, the light in you steps forward and encompasses the world. And it says, step back in faith and let truth lead the way. It says, you know not where you go, but one who knows goes with you. Let him lead you with the rest. And what he says in the next lesson is him is Christ. And him, Bill and I were just talking about this last night too, because Course in Miracles, please remember this. It was written within the ego's framework to lead you out of time and space. It's leading you to the truth. It's not the truth. It's leading you to the truth. It's leading you home. It's giving you practices. And so many people get stuck talking about this thing and thinking about it and getting turned off by the Christian terminology in here. He and him and Father. Who's been turned off by the Christian terminology in here? And my hand goes up the highest because I didn't like any of those words. But when you start to notice that he is the light within you. So it is not I, but the Father within that doeth the work. It is not I, but the light within that doeth the works. I, Lisa, limited self-identity, do nothing. I am capable of nothing.
I have it right here.
Where's the?
I just want to say, like, once I was so turned off by it at the beginning, but once you learn the untainted by man, the untainted meaning of these terms, like you fall madly in love with them in a new way. And I almost feel bad for people who still, or see some of those terms and get squeamish or turned off because they're so beautiful.
Yeah.
Even sin, like what it actually really is beautiful.
Yeah.
Let me see that for a second.
I just wanted to say that it's not so much it's turned off by the terminology. You know, I totally get it. I felt like a fraud.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was faking it. I was a fraud saying Christ and God and this. So it's not so much that I was like, oh, it's religion and I'm going to blow up if I say Christ or God. I wasn't scared of that part. I just felt like I was a fraud. And it did not take very long before I no longer felt that way.
Yep.
And that was just, so that's where I was at with that. You know, I don't think everyone's like, but I know some people are, you know, really turned off by that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they would just kind of let that go, use a different word, and just start. Just it doesn't matter what you want to call it. So anyway, that's my little piece on that.
And he is holiness also. So that's like all of these things are talking about the same thing. The holiness does the work. My salvation is my holiness. That's it. Like, it's like I'm connecting now to my innocence, not my innocence as a human, but the innocence that God created. And to begin to, and this is where, you know, I love that we're all together. Like, it's, always am saying this, like, I feel like Jesus started with Helen and Bill as that first example of collaboration, that you cannot do this by yourself. You put yourself to sleep, you cannot wake yourself up. You need your brother. And so holding the light is where, and that's why this example, it cracks me up that like it manifested as like this solid thing, because holding the light is me in a dedication to see the holiness and the wholeness of my brother at all times, no matter what. And at first, it is faking, Becky. Like, it is, at first, it's like, I don't see any light there. Like, this brother, oh my God. And you are so determined to find that place where you can see some spark in them, because the spark you're looking for in them is in you. That's why we would do this work. Like, I remember years ago, I just thought forgiveness was stupid. My apologies, Kelly. But I was like, forgiveness was the part of the, like, I'm like, ugh. Like, it took, for me at first, it was so much self-help books around it, and I forgive, and that's the worldly version of forgiveness. Like, I forgive you, or I forgive me, to pardon, yes. And exactly, but now I get it. Like, forgiveness is recognizing what I thought my brother did never occurred. And so the gift I'm giving to myself in being determined to see the wholeness in my brother is that I now am remembering the wholeness of me, because I don't know that you can see the wholeness in your brother without connecting to the wholeness in yourself first. I don't know. Like, for a while it is faking it. It's like, I am so determined to just not hold on to this grievance. And then there's what Jesus calls the quickening, a speed up. It's like a cellular regeneration within you, where you have allowed enough willingness to not hold on to your tight control of your identity in the world as you made it. And the light has come. Now the light's busting up all the old beliefs. And for a moment, and a moment can sometimes turn into weeks or years of a space of disorientation. Because as those old compacted beliefs are now moving, because you're not holding on to them anymore, they start to come up. Unity calls this chemicalization. And when they come up, they are reflected out here. So many people think, well, I'm doing this wrong because I've asked for love and like I'm in more fear than ever. But Jesus has already told us this is exactly the journey I'm calling you to. That's why trust is the first characteristic of a teacher of God. You're going to need trust to do this work. And so these ideas then, as we start to use them, like to me, today, this is just one idea. The one idea is I will step back and let the light lead. And so that's that awareness that Bill's always talking about, is now you have to become a child in this practice too, because as humans, we are know-it-alls. Like, we know our schedules, we know what we need to do next, we know, and we know what other people need too. Right? And so you start to see that when you step back and you are like, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. And the past is over. I'm not going to bring the past into this holy instant. I step back and let the light show me what to do and where to go and what to say. And for a moment, you won't know. Everyone has it. I don't know if it's the ego showing me or telling me, or I don't know if it's the light, or if it's, but you will start to notice that you will know. You will recognize the difference in the voices. Who knows the difference in the voices? You know, you start to really get it. And then if you don't know what to do, my practice, do nothing. Like if I'm in a place and I just think I'm going to launch this program, or I'm going to make this phone call, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, and it's not working. That's kind of how you know it's just not working. And then you just can stay in a space childlike again. Well, I don't know, maybe. And then you get to look at your attachments. Then you get to look if you had an attachment on that thing you were going to do, that big project, that thing. And one of the calls I had this week was this conference that's coming up in England. It's an online, what's it called, Bill?
Awaken to Love.
Awaken to Love with James Kelly.
And a group of Europeans.
He's in Scotland, actually. He's in.
It's a big European group.
Yep. And so he interviewed me. I interviewed Bill separately, and I was telling him, he was asking me about doing. And he was asking about this very topic. How do you know what to do? And I said, my experience is that you're just doing it. There's not a Lisa doing something. There's movement. There's just suddenly you're moving. And then you get to watch if the mind kind of jumps in there. And he said, I haven't really had that. I got off the call with him, and he said, that idea, he said it like hit him when I said it, because that requires trust to let the light lead you. Where's it going to take you? Where's it? You don't know. Like, is it going to make me do something I don't want to do? Where's it going to, whoa. And you get all like, but you start to notice that if you say yes to this, you really want to wake up and know yourself. And you just say, okay, I'm going to let the light show me where to go. And I have the willingness to go there. And if I'm afraid to go there, now I need some mind training to forgive myself for the thought that I'm holding about the fear. Like if the light's leading you to a brother you don't want to go talk to, and you're like, no. But the light it's so in your mind. Call that person, call that person, call that person. They're like in your mind, right? And you're just, what? Buckle up and trust is what our friend Paul says, because it's true. Like if you say, I want to go all in this lifetime, in this time, I don't want to spend another month or week or day or instant. I want to go and buckle up and trust, because that's what it takes. And what you notice is that when you take that step towards the light's leading you. It's saying, call this person, send the text, or it's saying, don't do it. That's another thing. Like you want to. You want to say something to this person, and the light's leading you. The light is saying, just do nothing right now. And you're aware of the way you feel. And when you take that first step, you realize, what was I afraid of? Like, there was nothing to fear. Like, I was only standing in a place allowing fear to run the show. And exactly. Where's the microphone? I'd like to pass the mic around to anyone. Want to come up here? You guys are so great. May the course be with you. Did you have those made?
No, golfing shirts.
Okay.
We just put our own spin on it.
That's awesome.
Golfing shirt.
That's so great.
Yeah, I said that the light of the love goes before you to pave the way. Like those things that you're nervous about. Yeah, you loose the world. In the Bible, he talks about the veil shall be rent in twain, which is loose the world from all you thought it was. And it goes before you. And you know you're not. I notice when I go somewhere that people will watch me walk by, and they watch you. And you notice sometimes that they're not watching you, and that's a indication that you're not coming from that space of love. And what's my lesson for the day or whatever, and then and then you notice again people who, not that I'm egoicious and want people to watch me, but I want them to recognize their mirror. Because it's in them.
Well, I'm looking good.
Thanks.
Oh, you did your toes too. You had a pedicure. Do you want to come up here? No.
Lisa, thank you. That was awesome. I love what you just ended it with. Like, the mind training is crucial, whether it's Course in Miracles or anything. Any of the modalities I do, from AA to Course in Miracles to Abraham to whatever, it's all training my mind, because I can't be trusted on my own. And law of attraction is real, whether I like it or not. It is. It's a scientific thing. It's a real thing that whatever I'm thinking, I'm making happen. You know, and Jesus talks about this in the Course in Miracles. That is my law of attraction. Where is my attraction? Is it attached to the Christ mind and to Source, whom I choose to call God? And that is a tough word for a lot of people. That word is a tough word. When people come into AA, it's a very tough word because we've been beat with it. And I'll even have to tell some newcomers that I sponsor, don't say that word. Say Source, say love, say higher power, whatever you have to do. But the mind training is for me to stay attached to that, because I don't even have to say the words. All I have to do is think a thought. And that's the law of attraction. And that gets attracted. And I wonder why all the assholes are out there. And it's because that's where I am. If it's the thing I haven't forgiven in myself, I'm going to see it outside of me. I just went through a huge healing because I saw something and thought that person really sideballed me and hurt me. And my son, who's very spiritual, said, you did this to someone years ago. You may say to yourself you didn't do it now and you haven't done it recently and you'd probably never do it again, but you did it. And it was in there, Mom. So that came up for you to look at, forgive, and let go, because you're doing all this spiritual work. You're, like you said, you're breaking it up. Where's my law of attraction? Law of attraction is real. If I'm staying in that positive place, all of a sudden, really great things happen. Life seems to go really good. If I say I'm scared of money or I'm scared of people or whatever, all of a sudden that shows up. Right? So it's real. And so for me to say it isn't real, and for me to, like you said, push it away and go, I'm not going to believe in that. It doesn't matter whether I believe in it or not. We are energy stuffed into these suits, and my energy needs to be connected to the light, and the light needs to go before me. And if I do that, everything works out perfectly for me. And if it doesn't, it's because I've stepped away from the light, and that law of attraction, which is a universal law, said, oh, that's what you want. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and there's this part in these lessons that talks about Christ's vision. The Christ vision has one law, It does not look upon a body and mistake it for the Son whom God created. It beholds a light beyond the body, an idea beyond what can be touched, a purity undimmed by errors, pitiful mistakes, and fearful thoughts of guilt from dreams of sin. It sees no separation, and it looks on everyone, on every circumstance, all happenings and all events, without the slightest fading of the light it sees. This can be taught and must be taught by all who would achieve it. Christ's vision can be taught. It must be taught. It has one law. It does not look upon a body and mistake it for the Son whom God created. Christ's vision requires but the recognition that the world cannot give anything that faintly can compare with this in value. That's why I liked hearing all those people on that book study call say, I don't want anything in the world, because that's the point when you're ready. That's the call Jesus made to those 12, 2,000 years ago. Let's go. Nobody wanted to go except 12. 12's a lot, actually. But he says, nor set up a goal which does not merely disappear when this has been perceived. All the things you want, think about it. And imagine that you're given that or the choice of Christ's vision. Okay. Christ's vision, the ability to see the truth in everyone at all times, in all circumstances. What more could you want? And it says, and this you give today, see no one as a body. That's the practice. See no one as a body. Greet him as the Son of God he is, acknowledging that he is one with you in holiness. Amen. Thank you, guys. All right, so if Arthur Gay is up next week, woo! And he's a house on fire. I'll be here for that, for sure. He'll be here too. Yeah, good. Okay, if everybody can join me in a closing circle in prayer.
Big circle this week.
Where's the microphone? Oh, it's right here. Okay.
Got it?
Okay, so thank you, everyone. If anyone would like to give a donation, we very much appreciate it. It helps us pay for the space. It helps us pay for the live stream. And there's a box in the back there, and just give any amount you can. And online, there's a donation button, and we just really do appreciate all that you give. And so we say the unity prayer for tithes and blessings and offerings. Divine love has me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Okay, well, breathing in, we're going to find the light within. We're accessing that point. Breathe in. You don't have to go far to find it, because it is right there as what you are. And as you acknowledge this light, it starts to move. And the light begins to grow brighter in your awareness. You are love. You are this light. You're not your perceived problems. You're not sickness. All suffering is your imagined nightmare, and it does not exist. And we thank you, Father. We thank you that we are remembering the truth of what we are. We are remembering our true self, that we step back and we let the light lead the way. And we spend today in gratitude, in celebration, as happy children. This is a happy game we play to hold the light in our awareness, to hold the light for our brother when they're suffering, to be there present when someone comes to us with a sickness, a problem, a difficulty, when they're in fear, that we are your miracle workers. We are happy that we have heard the call and that we are accepting it now. We make this choice for everyone as we take our place among the saviors of the world. This is a new and holy day, and the light goes forth, and we are here listening. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Lisa. Awesome job. Good job. Really good.